We're going to explore what I call the paradox of availability, how it propels you through the ranks, and then when you get to a higher level, it will quite literally stop you from progressing and undermine your ability to lead and especially to innovate the future.
I'd rather be sidelined trying to achieve greatness than watch greatness achieved and it only set on the sideline. Now introducing your host, Jacob Emery.
This episode of the Iron and Infrastructure Podcast is brought to you by Unlocking Greatness with Jacob Emery, a coaching community built for those ready to become the strongest version of themselves. Weekly calls, proven playbooks, and a community built to grow. Greatness is not given, it's unlocked. Join us today at jacobemery.com or DM coach at jacobemery44 on all social media platforms. Availability is normally your best ability. For years it is. It's something that just showing up sometimes is a separator. It helps you climb through the business ranks pretty quick, accelerate through that company ladder. It's a powerful mantra. I've said it multiple times. I think it's a key component to acceleration, to progress. But doesn't mean it has to be forever. And it definitely doesn't mean it should be forever. What happens when that very strength becomes a weakness, actually becomes something that sets you back, holds back your progress, and doesn't actually allow you to have the progress that you should? We're going to dive into this today. Availability does have a point where you cannot be available. When you start out, you always need to be available, showing up, doing the thing consistently, day after day after day. Come in early, stay late. But then, at one point, it shifts completely. We're going to explore what I call the paradox of availability, how it propels you through the ranks, and then when you get to a higher level, it will quite literally stop you from progressing and undermine your ability to lead and especially to innovate the future. So the first part is the climb. Availability is the superpower. It's showing up. It's doing what you need to do. Think about when you first show up to a job and you start out lower paid, unskilled, and just being there, being reliable, being someone that somebody else can trust. They know you're going to show up. They know what you got to give every day. That is a complete superpower. You're eager to go. You're ambitious. You're motivated, inspired. You're just ready to go. It is one of the best abilities that you can have. Top 5 things for progression at an early age. But then it becomes this like strategic advantage, like just being there. You can't do a good job if you're not there. If you're calling off every other day, if you can't even show up to work, you're not getting paid, you're not on the clock, you're not reliable, you're not dependable. So you build a reputation just by showing up. And not just by doing a good job, but by constantly being there to do a good job. The consistency carries a lot of weight, and it takes a lot of pressure off leaders that rely on you. When people know they can depend on you, it does create this trust factor that is must have. It's must have for any business, any company, anywhere. And it becomes like a bedrock, a foundational component to your acceleration. Professional respect definitely comes from just being there when you're supposed to and doing the thing you're supposed to do. It's about being present, being dependable, and first and foremost, just showing up. Sometimes just showing up, whether it be in business or in life, just going to the gym sometimes is the win. It's the consistency over time, not the intensity for a little bit of time. So the hands-on experience that you get by being there will create opportunity. It will help you provide certification opportunity, better training, more development, whatever it may be. Just by being there alone, you will get time invested in you because you invested your time consistently in the business. So you learn a lot of different facets of the business. You'll see problems probably quicker because you're more aware of them, because you're available. And so it becomes a really, really strong way to learn, to soak everything in like a sponge, and it creates positions for you in the future because you're constantly showing up, and that's what leadership is all about. But then there's a turning point. Now you fast forward a little bit, you put in the hours, you've built the trust, and you've earned your stripes, you've paid your dues, and you've reached that executive level, whether it be like a director or an executive, a C-suite, whatever it may be. That corner office, that spot where you're kind of out there on the island, and you're supposed to be responsible, or you are responsible for a future. You got to build, you got to think, you got to strategize. And perhaps you're launching your own business or your own success venture, or you're a maker of something that doesn't exist yet. Strategic thinking, vision, high level execution. These things are very difficult to learn how to do. And this is where the paradox kicks in. This is where being available becomes a weakness. Your eagerness to jump in, the open door policy, the always answer your phone. I always got 5 minutes to talk, turned into 50 minutes, can now become the thing that absolutely limits your ability to provide a future for the company or for whatever you're trying to build. Consider the cost of constant availability at this stage. You need strategic blocks of time to be in the present moment, doing the thing that you're supposed to do. You don't have time for distraction. It's too hard to get back into the rhythm when distracted. If you're locked in for 45 minutes and someone comes into your office and just bothers you, it's going to take you probably another 45 minutes to get redialed back in. And by that time, you've spent all your energy. Time. So time is the most precious thing that you have to protect. Alex Hormozy says maker or manager. He splits his days differently. And I do something very similar. I have priority blocks. But what you do with your time is absolutely crucial. If you are available for everything, then you're not progressing anything. Nothing gets done if you're always available. As a leader, this is a tough transition. It really is. Because if you're available for everyone, they don't solve problems. And you're solving their problems. And you're not solving your own problems or creating a future that isn't there yet. And so that time that you spend doing that thing is not only hindering yourself, but it's hindering them as well. So that precious commodity of time has to be enforced strictly in your calendar. You must prioritize your calendar and make sure that no one comes in and disrupts that. It's the classic trap of sacrificing the future growth for what feels safe and urgent right now. We're more prone by default to go do these things because that's what we've always done. Solve the problem, put out the fire, the thing right now, the 911 that has to be done. Don't sacrifice what's important, though, for what feels urgent in that moment. Stepping in to solve a problem that someone else should solve actually limits their growth and it limits your ability to provide a future. Although it feels productive in the moment, it's really not. Kind of like raising kids, you got to let them fall down so they can get back up. So then once you realize that, you have to create this ability to be absent. So it's the power of strategic absence. At the executive level, when you're trying to build a future, your role shifts dramatically and it's a completely different mindset. And it's difficult to do. It's no longer about solving that immediate thing right now. It's not the fire being put out right now. You're creating something that doesn't exist. It's about creating a system where problems are solved effectively because they're on repeat. They're done once, they're done twice. It's a playbook of knowing how to do it. When you're overly available, though, you're more than likely not going to have a clear system because you become the system. And inadvertently, you become the system, also the bottleneck. So your team always knows that you're there. You're always Mr. Reliable. You're always the go-to guy. And then what happens is your team has no confidence because they're just coming to you for every answer. And then they end up coming to you for everything and don't think about anything on their own. You become the bottleneck. You become the reason that your company doesn't grow. For one, you're not providing a future platform. And two, you're not allowing the leadership to grow the way they should. Your desire to help other people, although you think it is a plus sign. Yes, positivity. I'm rah-rah. I'm helping out. I'm doing the thing. I'm a part of the team still. Sometimes you got to separate yourself from the team for the team to have a future. And this is where the power of strategic absence comes in. It's about trusting the team, empowering that team to progress through and find solutions, be in the solutions industry. You have to reinforce your confidence in them to go do what they know they can do. Confidence in them, trust in them to find the solution, knowing that they're going to fail, knowing that you failed too. And it's both okay. How you react to that ultimately shows the real leadership. So if every minor issue is coming to you, if the team's not able to take care of problems on their own, you are the bottleneck. By being less available, by not being there for the 911 call, the fire being put out, by just not having that availability there, being on the island, the team knows that they can't come to you unless it's really important. So they become a lot better at solving problems before bringing you problems. They become solution focused instead of problem absorption and then take it to someone else. This episode of the Iron and Infrastructure Podcast is brought to you by R&R Pipeline Inc., an infrastructure company. Join our team today at rrpipelineinc.com. You force the system to work, build the system, people follow suit with that system, the people get built through the system. So this creates accountability and it creates a proactive culture for solutions. I always used to say that I'm in the solutions industry. If you're going to bring me a problem, at least have one good solution and recommendation, but don't just bring a scenario without some type of solution that you thought through. So here's a little bit of actionable advice. How to transition. I think this is the hardest part. How to transition. So how do you do it? You're always the go-to person. You're probably, like myself, I was in operations for years. I was the go-to for operational things. Contracts, dialogue, knowing the work very definitively, knowing the scope of work very well, the contract language, the go-to for that, knowing how and who to put in different scenarios. But what happens when that's not you anymore? This is where you figure out how you are as a leader, because you have to be able to delegate to others and let them elevate themselves. You don't want to just tell them what to do, though. You have to teach them what to do. So you have to set clear boundaries and expectations. You have to communicate very decisively, very direct, and very clear. Do not leave room for interpretation. If it's up to interpretation, it is not a clear expectation. Very definitively specific, must be yes or no, black and white. So the issues that are going to come up, how to resolve them, make sure that everything that you experience, you expedite the pain of them having to fail because of your learning lessons. So if you empower your team to take on these challenges, you empower them, give them the confidence that you believe in them. You know they can do it. They will accelerate at this, but they are also going to fail. Knowing that they're going to fail, though, just means that it's just part of the learning, because the only real failure is just not trying. And one of the best things that I've learned to do is ask questions out of curiosity. Play dumb. I don't understand. I don't know. I have X, Y, and Z problem. Well, why? Why is X the problem? Why is Y the problem? Why is Z the problem? Who else have you talked to? What solutions do you think would work? Do you have a recommendation? Ask questions out of curiosity, regardless if you know the answer. Majority of the time, even if you know the answer, you can ask a couple questions for that person to solve it themselves. And you just play dumb. I don't know. Can't help you. I don't have a solution for you. What would you do if this was the case? What must be true for this outcome to be there? You start to become a better leader when you teach how to solve problems by asking questions, not by giving answers. So for you to continue to grow, though, you have to block out your calendar. 6 to 9 a.m. almost every day, I have a priority block. I focus on what matters the most. I block out time to focus on the priorities to execute according to plan. And I don't deviate on that. That is what I'm doing in the morning, because that is the time that I am mentally the best for creativity, for whatever I'm working on. I'm the sharpest in the morning. This is the time dedicated to just kicking ass, strategic planning, building a vision for the future, developing models and systems for whatever I'm working on. These things drive long-term success. Just doing the work is a big part of it, but you got to know how to do the work. You got to know what you're doing the work for, the purpose of it, the outcome that you're going for, the target you're trying to hit. And that is where real growth comes in. That is the hardest work out there. It's whenever you can create a future that doesn't exist yet, a model for it, a blueprint, a roadmap, and then actually seeing it go through and be done. That is where real growth starts to happen. Building a future that does not exist. And it is so hard and so complex sometimes to get a simple message out and show what the target is that we're trying to hit. So at this stage in development, it's not about your presence. It's about your perspective. So it's not about presence. It's not about you physically being available. It's about the frame, the perspective in which you're trying to build this vision for the future. It's about going toward the growth, what the future looks like, how to create a better future for everyone on that team. How do we build this blueprint out to make individual success for team significance? And it's about the journey to climb up this mountaintop. It's about leading. And whenever you're a leader, you see a lot of leaders where they have the rope over their shoulders and they're pulling all systems ahead. But that lead role is a lot different. You're not just navigating the team. You're not pulling the whole team along. You're guiding the team for the future. It's not just pulling everyone. It's about having your own weight that you pull, but it's about knowing where you're pulling to. Availability is your best ability. When you're starting out, it absolutely is a mandatory for you to be available to climb up through the ranks of the company. But whenever you get to a certain point and you're creating a future, you're building something that doesn't exist yet, availability, your presence will absolutely suffocate you, and it'll limit your ability to create a future. Build your reputation and expertise on consistently showing up, and then go find that island, because once you reach a certain point, you cannot approach it the same way. The challenge then becomes the escape, the dialogue, the time set aside for executing on an island. It's a lonely road. It's not something that a lot of people get the opportunity to experience. And for me, just understanding that if I'm available for everyone, I'm not building a future for them. By being there to answer questions, I am by default not building a place for them to go. So if I have to seem like I'm not available for them, it's because I'm trying to build something for them, a bigger and better future than what is today. And that's the whole point of what design is. That's the whole point of what building a future is about, the vision, the blueprint. If no one built a future, then the present becomes the present again and again. So think about your availability. Do a quick audit. Audit your availability. Availability audit is what I call it. Are you available for the right reasons, personal and professional? Are you available for someone that's not maybe available for you? Are you investing your precious time into someone that's not willing to invest in you? Are you giving and not receiving? Are you doing the things consistently day in and day out and then never seeing a reward for it? Make sure that you're bringing solutions to the table, not just problems. And make sure that your time is spent wisely. Show up early, go home late. I had so many hours spent off the clock where I was growing, and a lot of them hours off the clock that I never got paid a dime for probably paid me tenfold years down the road. The extra time put in when you're not maybe getting paid for it, it's that personal development off the clock. It's working on you outside of the time you're getting paid. So if you're a leader out there, are you hindering growth? Are you becoming a bottleneck by not allowing the people to execute with what you're teaching them to do? Are you not teaching them the right methods? What is the reason why you're still answering questions, still trying to solve problems for people? Look at the level where you're at and what you're doing. If you're an owner or an executive and you're trying to build a future, are you designing or are you by default putting out fires? At some point, there has to be a transition. So if you're going to build up the availability, create the progress through that availability, the consistency of showing up. If you're going to show up consistently and you're going to execute, you're going to win. So you're going to climb that ladder. You're going to work up the company ladder. Make sure, though, when you reach a certain point, your availability doesn't become the thing that hinders you. Availability paradox. Be available until you can't be available so you can create a future for everyone else around you on the team. So, availability paradox is the Iron Infrastructure Podcast. Appreciate everyone tuning into this. Got anything? I'd love to hear it. 5-star rating if you think it was any good. If you don't, bring it to me. Let's hear what you got to say about it. I like feedback either way. So, appreciate everyone. Subscribe to the YouTube channels, Iron Infrastructure, Jacob Emery 44 on all social media. Go to jacobemery.com for the Unlocking Greatness group coaching program. It has taken off like crazy. Everyone's winning big time in 2026. Hope to see you guys there. Stop telling yourself one day. It isn't about one day, it's about day one. Today should be your day one. What you need isn't another day. What you need is clarity with the community to give you confidence to unlock your greatness. That's what the group coaching program is all about. Confidence, clarity, via commitment. Hit the show link in the notes. Let's start unlocking your greatness now, today.